Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to review 10 literary terms that I think are likely to appear on your spring iReady exam. I'm challenging myself to review these terms in less than 10 minutes, so let's go ahead and get started. The first word that I want to review with you is allusion. The definition of an allusion is when a book has a reference to a person, event, or another book that exists in real life. We can see an example of this in the book Arthur's Prize Reader. In the book, Arthur's sister Violet is reading the book Little Bear. We know that Little Bear is a real book that was written by author Elsie Homeland Minarek and illustrated by Maurice Sendak. The next word I'd like to review is alliteration. Alliteration is when two or more words begin with the same initial sound. I'm going to put two books up on the screen, and both of the titles contain examples of alliteration. The first is Four Famished Foxes and Fosdyke, and 4 out of the 5 words in the title begin with the sound. The second book is called The Bold Brave Bunny, and 3 of the 4 words in this title begin with the sound B. Therefore, both books contain examples of alliteration in their titles. The next word I want to review with you is idiom. An idiom is a phrase common to a language that has a figurative rather than a literal meaning. We've talked about how there are thousands of idioms, and I don't expect you to know the meaning of each and every one. What I do expect you to be able to do is look at the context in which an idiom is used and use that context to determine the meaning of the idiom. Let me give you an example. If I said that Scarlett was throwing a tantrum because her hair didn't look the way she wanted it to that morning, and I told her, Scarlett, don't fly off the handle, what does that phrase fly off the handle mean? Does it mean that Scarlett's going to shrink and be very tiny and sit on the handle of a pan and grow wings and fly off of the handle? Of course not. The term flying off the handle means losing your temper, getting extremely angry or furious. So if I say don't fly off the handle, I'm saying, hey, calm down, don't get upset about this. And that would never happen because Scarlett doesn't throw tantrums, and also her hair always looks perfect. The next word I want to review is onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is a word that is intended to mimic a sound you would hear in real life. There are many examples of onomatopoeia in the book Pet Show Panic. It's one of Humphrey's tiny tales that we've been reading in class. Whenever Og makes his sound as a frog, the author writes boing. That's meant to represent the sound of a frog. Whenever Humphrey the hamster speaks, the author writes squeak, 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 and that is meant to mimic the sound a hamster makes. The next word I'd like to review is rhyme. When words rhyme, that means that they have the same sound in the middle and at the end of the word. So, for example, if you take a look at this book, Guess Who's Coming, Jessie Bear? Many of the words in this book rhyme. Let's take a look. The page says, oh no, not Cousin Sarah. She's older and no fun. She's bossy and she's bigger and she bullies everyone. In this case, the words fun and everyone rhyme because they both have that vowel sound and consonant n at the end. Fun, everyone. Let's take a look at another page. This page says Wednesday. I count and look and then sit down. She knows she will never be found. At hiding, Sarah is the best. It gives us both a little rest. In this case, the words down and found do not rhyme. They do both have the sound of out, out, out in the middle, but down ends with consonant n and found ends with consonant d. Two words that do rhyme on this page are best and rest. They both have the short E vowel sound, followed by consonant blend, st. Best, rest. The next word I want to share with you is personification. Personification is when a non-person has the characteristics of a person. We see this in the book The Day the Crayons Quit. The crayons are able to write letters, they can talk to each other, they're able to stand up, move around, hold things in their hands, and those are all things that people can do, but crayons in real life are not able to do any of those things. Here's a little bonus for you. If an animal has the characteristics of a human, it is called personification or anthropomorphism. So if you take a look at this illustration of Peter Rabbit, you'll see many examples of personification or anthropomorphism. Peter Rabbit is standing on his hind legs instead of on all fours. Peter Rabbit is wearing clothes, as are his sisters and his mother. And we know from reading the book that Peter Rabbit and his family are able to speak English words to each other, which real rabbits are not able to do. The next word I'd like to review with you is stanza. A stanza is one verse of a poem. Stanzas are often separated by blank lines or indentation at the beginning of each stanza. I'm going to show you a poem from the book A Light in the Attic, written by Shel Silverstein, and I want you to tell me how many stanzas are there in the poem. If you said 3, you're correct. You can tell by where there is a space in between that there are 3 separate stanzas or verses in the poem. The next word I'd like to review with you is simile. A simile is when an author compares 2 things using the word like or the word as. I'm going to read you a little bit from this book. It's called A Toad for Tuesday, and try to identify the simile before I highlight it in blue. Swiftly, he sped down the hillside, on and on, until he entered the dark woods at the edge of the valley. The little toad sailed between the trees. He darted under the bushes. He streaked past the rocks. Like a tiny rocket, he swept along the valley. Hopefully, you were able to identify the simile. In this case, the author is using the word like to compare the toad to a tiny rocket. The next word I want to review with you is metaphor. A metaphor is when an author compares 2 things without using the word like or as. I'm going to read to you from a different page in the book A Toad for Tuesday, and again, see if you are able to recognize the metaphor before I highlight it in blue. Forming 2 long lines with Wharton and Cy in front, off they went. The 100 mice and 1 toad became a weaving ribbon that wound swiftly through the trees of the wooded valley. In this case, the metaphor is a weaving ribbon. The author is comparing the 2 lines of mice to a ribbon, but he doesn't use the word like or as to make that comparison. This year, one of our students, Maxine, drew a wonderful picture that can help you differentiate between similes and metaphors. If you look, you'll see that Hoppy's ears are as clean as fresh laundry. And so in this case, Maxine is comparing Hoppy's ears to fresh laundry, and she's using the word as to make that comparison. That makes it a simile. Next to Alice, you're going to see the sentence, Alice's ears are cheesy. She doesn't say that Alice's ears are like cheese. She says they're actually cheesy. And so in this case, it's a metaphor. We're comparing Alice's ears to cheese, but we're not using the word like or as to make that comparison. Hopefully this can help you remember the difference between similes and metaphors. The last word I want to review with you is theme. A theme is an idea or message that is explored in a book. A theme can be a lesson that is learned or just one word. I'm going to place on the screen 3 books that we've read this year and also 3 different themes. Right now they're all mixed up, but pause the video here and see if you can match each theme to the book it matches. Hopefully you were able to match the themes with the books that matched. That's the last literary term that I wanted to review with you, and I think I did make it under 10 minutes. I hope that this video was helpful and that you do a great job on your spring iReady exam. That's all that I have for you today, but I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.